everyone knows this channel is a big Justyn Ross channel. So we're going to dive into the wide receiver room battle. So Justyn Ross has been a guy that JD and I have stood on the table for the last 2 years for Justyn Ross. And we've also talked about him possibly just utilizing the guy, especially in the red zone. Like we said with Josh Gordon, it didn't happen. We were hoping last year was going to happen with Justyn Ross. It seemed like his reps were getting more and more and more until, this off the field stuff happened. But nonetheless, he's back on the team. But many believe he's on the bubble with how deep the Chiefs are at the wide receiver position. You guys mentioned Nico, Remigio. But we've recently seen Justyn Ross getting a lot more snaps with the ones. Hollywood Brown was out the other day. It was Ross was out there with Rice and Xavier Worthy. Even more notable, this is about the 2 days ago report. Justyn Ross skeptic, Arrowhead Pride's Pete Sweeney made mention that how much action Ross was getting with the ones, and he was getting a lot of targets from Patrick Mahomes. So there could be for your rosters out there, for a lot of the Justyn Ross truthers out there, it could be some confidence going into the coming weeks here. But my question to you guys is, how confident should the rosters feel about Justyn Ross making this team after the amount of first team reps he's got over the last few days, albeit with Hollywood Brown being out and Justin Watson being out?
Go ahead, Cole.
Yeah, sure. Justyn Ross, man, he's I'm always rooting for an underdog. It's just, I think it's why I love the wide receiver battle. Like, I'm also rooting for Nico, Remigio, Montrell Washington out here making play after play after play. That guy's not dropping passes. He's intriguing too. Just the bottom of this roster, you love a story of a guy who earns his way up, works his way up, and fights to earn himself a spot on the roster. Now, where Ross has a bit of an advantage here is he made the roster last year, and he was maybe starting to get in more of a groove. Then he gets suspended, and I think that just throws everything else out of the water for the rest of the season. I will say I did have an interview with Ron Kopp he's the lead analyst of Arrowhead Pride, and I just said, hey, how's Justyn Ross looking? How's the receiver room looking? He attended all 3 practices in pads. He said so far Ross is maybe making less splash plays. He's still making some opportunities happen. He's still coming down with the ball here and there. And with Justyn Ross, with his height, he's the only receiver on the roster that's a bigger bodied guy. He's about 6'4", red zone guy. You think like a guy to bring out niche packages like Jody Fortson, who he's with the Dolphins now, so best of luck to him. But now I'm kind of curious, what are they going to do with Justyn Ross when you're looking at the wide receiver 5-6 spot and the needs you need to fill as a depth piece on offense, yes, but in the return game. And then if you've got other red zone targets like Travis Kelce and then now Jared Wiley, could that kind of be your guy? And is Ross on the outside looking in? I'm not sure. I will say I also had an interview with Seth Kaiser, who, if you're familiar with him at all, big in the Chiefs Kingdom space. He studied a lot of Ross's film last year, and he did struggle with getting separation on his routes. Where he may thrive is the jump ball, the 50-50 stuff, but I just feel like the Chiefs that's not their cup of tea. Mahomes wants to throw it to the open receiver. They scheme the receiver open. But yeah, I'm very intrigued to see, man. It's going to be a tough battle when you're looking at if they go with 6 receivers and you've got maybe Sky, Tony, Remigio, and Justyn Ross all fighting for that last spot.
Yeah, so my evaluation of Justyn Ross, and I'm like you, Marcus. Marcus actually brought me over to this, Cole. Okay, I like Justyn Ross. I thought he was a long shot making the roster last year. But the more I start seeing him, and I've seen his skill set, and my thing was just the whole medical process. Is he going to remain healthy? Is something going to come back up, with his back and those? I didn't know. I didn't quite know, right? It's like the uncertainty. But when Embry is talking about this guy has a skill set that nobody else in the room has, that says something. It says something to me. And I think the Chiefs understand that because they were like, look, this guy deserves a position here. We let him play. And so when he came into the game, they threw him a couple of back shoulder throws, a couple of balls up over the top. So they know they have an ability about him. My thing is, when I'm checking and I'm evaluating, I've just been thinking about this for the past couple of days, actually. What we do well, Patrick, in our offense, like you said, he throw guys open. But we run a lot of scramble drill, okay? That's what I call it. Like, guys, trying to get open. He's creating plays with his legs, and then all of a sudden, defenses break down. He looks for the open guy. Justyn Ross gives him a guy that can go up and just go get it. Like you said, the 50-50 ball. I'm going to be that guy. He has another year under his belt to learn this offense where he can get open. Now, I know you said you talked to those guys. I haven't seen anything. I haven't been to practice, see any of those things. But I know the Chiefs understand, like, this guy right here is a weapon for us. Anytime Patrick gets in a situation and a problem, look for Justyn Ross. I know he's sitting there thinking in his mind, this is a guy that can make a play for me. And every quarterback loves to have a guy like that, right? I mean, you can start looking at, T. Higgins, like body types of guys that can go up and go play and make plays. Justyn Ross is that guy for us. He really is. Now, Rashee Rice is what I'm sitting there saying we should obviously trying to make him transition into that player, because I do believe he's an outside guy that you need to throw more to him doing things like that, right? So, but Justyn Ross is he's a special talent. He really is. I've always wanted, me and Marcus both wanted a big receiver that you throw the ball up to. Like you said, Jody Forrest, and man, what that would have looked like. Now Justyn Ross is a guy for me, okay? And he's been taking reps. And I want people to kind of get away from this. Andy and those guys are going to give guys opportunities for Patrick to throw to everybody. You're going to put Sky Moore in with the ones. You're going to put Justyn Ross in with the ones. You're going to put Justin Watson in with the ones. Remigio in with the ones. They're going to make sure guys are getting the necessary opportunities with the number one quarterback in the league to see what the offense is going to look like. Okay? So sometimes when we sitting there looking like, oh, man, well, how's this evaluation working? Any of those guys are not thinking that. They're not just all one day say, oh, well, he's on top now. They're not doing that. They still got plenty of time for this evaluation. And so he may not look the same with Carson Wentz or Book and all those different guys doing with Patrick Mahomes. So that's why I say, man, I'm a big Justyn Ross believer. He's got a skill set, man, a lot of guys on the team don't have. I don't think, well, we could say he's a bubble guy, but I think he is. I think, and I said this, Cole, there's guys that I know for a lock, like Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, and everybody else is French players. McCole Hardman's probably going to be there. I think Kadarius Toney is another guy that's going to be there. And after that, those five, then you can kind of mix and see what everybody else is going to be. I really do. I do believe they're going to carry 7 wide receivers on the roster this year, though, just because we trying to play fast. We're trying to throw the ball down the field. So is it going to make the 53? I think so.
I'm a little higher, too, on Justin Watson. He was 3rd in receiving yards last year. He's on the last year of his deal. You can move on from him without a big financial repercussion, but I kind of have him as a lock as like wide receiver 4. I just feel like he's a guy that's consistently shown he can make plays for Mahomes. And in a pinch, he can return punts. He's done that before when we're like, please don't let Sky do it after Tony and McCole got hurt. But yeah, so there's Justin Watson as well that I'm intrigued to see in that mix too. And that's what makes this so exciting, man. Camp, you never know who's going to get the reps. Sky Moore, he's been getting a lot more first-team reps with both Justin Watson out with the foot and then now Tony with the ankle. Sky's been getting even more reps, and he's a guy that I'm like, I don't know what to do with him at this point in time either.
Oh, really? So you mean the Chiefs ain't cut him yet? Like everybody's thinking, like they want to get rid of him? Think he's actually going with the ones?
I'm 2 years left on that rookie deal, man. Yeah, for sure. Man. I mean, I do think if he doesn't show up at camp, you know, and some of these guys like really overtake him, he could be in danger of maybe being traded or not making it. But I do think the Chiefs want to give him every single opportunity they can. You've got a guy with 2 years left on his rookie deal, a 2nd-round pick that you invested in.
Yes.
Some people want him gone now. I do think he's in danger of being gone soon if he doesn't really show up at camp. But again, we see the crack of the curtain, right? As fans, we're not inside looking at all the meetings, and the coaches are watching the film on all the practices and doing all that. And I mean, JD, you know more than any of us of how that goes behind the scenes, but we're only seeing a piece of it at camp.
Yeah, yeah. And a guy like Sky Moore, we were talking about this last week, man. He does little things well in games that people just don't evaluate. They don't give him a check or attaboy at when he's going down blocking for guys. You know, maybe running the right route, or because even running the right route gets somebody else open, and we got to evaluate that too. And so it's the full scope of things. You absolutely right. When these guys are in here talking as coaches, it's a whole different conversation. And to be honest with you, I didn't know how the conversation was going in until I actually got in the room. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is how you talking about guys? This is the conversation. It's like, yeah, this is how this really works. So what we may think is better for the team, Andy and those guys they're gonna do what they want to do. They're gonna feel like it's best for the entire scope of the team to win a championship, right? That's the full evaluation of it.
And I will say with that, I guess the argument for keeping 7 receivers, because I've seen a lot of people were saying 6 receivers. I mean, I think this week or just over last week, it tells you all you need to know. I mean, Watson getting hurt, Tony getting hurt, Hollywood Brown's got a history of injury. Our first-round pick, Xavier Worthy, although he played all throughout college, he's been banged up since he came to the league with a hamstring, being sick. So, like, that's a lot of guys that were injured in that room. It makes the argument for keeping 7 guys around. And then kind of what you guys kind of laid it out, where it's a little bit of a redundancy with the amount of small guys we have. There's a little bit of redundancy in talent. Ross is kind of in his own class, in his own kind of weight class comparatively to everybody else on the receiving room. So I don't know. I think we're going to see it's going to be an interesting battle towards the end of that wide receiver room. And JD, how much of it is it going to be where, obviously Sky Moore looks great in practice. Let me just give you an example. Sky Moore looks great in practice. Justyn Ross comes out there week 1 of preseason with the 2 group with Carson Wentz. He dominates, but he may be kind of mediocre in practice comparatively to Sky Moore. But when it came to preseason games, he's actually dominating.
Yeah.
Where do coaches weigh that? How good in practice or how good you are in a preseason game?
Look, they're going to value everything, and what they're looking for is consistency. Okay, it's a guy that understands the entire offense, and so I can't just look at you doing it well in practice and then it don't translate to the field, on game day. And same vice versa is, if I'm sitting over here and you're doing everything great in practice, but in the game you're dropping everything because I'm just like, man, maybe are you pressing too much? Are you worried too much about the lights and what everybody's thinking about you? So they got to do full scope on this, man. They really do. And so, and like I said this before, you may look great with Carson Wentz, okay? You're going against the second team defense, so you should be lighting it up, okay? Guy comes in with the second defense, and he's got 4 catches for 180 yards and 2 tubs. Well, you could look over on the other side, man, and you're looking at Surtain. It might be a whole different dude that you're going against. So that's what I'm talking about as far as like the full evaluation, man. You just don't really know. And I said it's more about the consistency that you're looking for a guy to do it both in practice and in the game.
Yeah, and 100%. I know people like to say that. I think one of our followers came in the other day and said that Mahomes doesn't like throwing to Justyn Ross. Not the case at all. Ross had limited snap counts last year, and in those games that Ross came in, Mahomes is looking his way a good amount for the amount of snaps, like 8 snaps in a game, and the guy's getting 2 targets. I mean, it's pretty good, I would say, as far as ratio there. But yeah, so Mahomes obviously trusts the guy.
So Cole, man. All right, brother.
Yeah.
Here it is. Put you on the spot. I don't know if it's on the spot for you. I asked Marcus, and Marcus has, flipped and flopped and did all. Who is your 7 guys? We got 7 wide receivers. Who's your top 7 right now making a roster?
Yeah, it's a little complex just because, at least right now, I think Rice will not be suspended. But I was going off a lot of the offseason thinking, okay, if he is suspended, that kind of changes the pecking order and makes like the bottom of that a little bit easier. But 7, I mean, so I would have the 5 right now. If let's say they're rolling with 7, I am wondering if they do go with 6, only because I have a suspicion that they may roll with 4 tight ends. That's Noah Gray, Jared Wiley, Kelsey, and Irv Smith Jr. Could totally be wrong there. But if you roll with 7, so you've got Rice, you've got Hollywood, you've got Worthy, Justin Watson, and McCole. So now you've got those 4 guys fighting for the last 2 spots.
Yes.
Nico, Tony, Sky, Montrell.
Who's your 2, brother? Come on, man.
At this, right this second.
And it's not hating on anybody else. It's not like that.
I'm processing through it. I mean, right at this very second, I think I'm doing an elimination right now. I'm going to
Okay.
throw Tony on there.
Okay.
That's assuming he's healthy, the ankle thing's not serious, and they think Tony is motivated enough on a contract year to really show up and show out to try to get another deal somewhere else this offseason. I'm going to go with Tony. And then here's my thing. If you have Tony, you then have McCole Hardman. Those are two solid returners. Worthy can do it as well. You could easily make the case for Justyn Ross as number 7. If they go with 6, I have more trouble probably putting Ross on there. But if they go with 7, I think he could be that guy that's right there. He's already made the roster. He's got the reps. He's a unique guy that is unlike Worthy 5'11", Hollywood 5'9", McCole 5'10". I mean, he's got that unique skill set that you guys talked about. So if they do go with 7, I think Ross's chances are definitely higher for sure.
Okay. Good. All right. We were calculating. I was getting on Marcus a little bit because he was doing a whole lot of context here. And well, if they have, no, like I want to hear your 7. What you think? Just kind of cut and dry, straight to the point. But
I gotta set it up sometimes.
Yeah, brother. I get it. And I understand. It's one of those tough things, right? And you're going to validate or justify a guy being on their roster, but that's kind of the thing we were talking about too. Like, you made a great point. So the redundancy of like the same body types, like, why do you want to carry the same body types into the game? Why have 7 guys the same size and all that when you have a couple of guys that might be a little bit bigger that could help you on special teams? If it's the same thing, like you said, why carry 4 returners? What's the point of doing that, right? So if you're doing an evaluation and it starts getting crowded in the room, what you want to do offensively, then some guys can just be eliminated because it is, you got the same body type. Guys can do the same thing. So
chat is also pointing out in that list, I did not include Sky. I was kind of just a brain fart more than anything. I mean, Sky, he's really got to show up and show out at camp and preseason. I'm happy to have him on the roster. I just, right now, he's a big question mark to me. If I had to choose, my initial 53 5 weeks ago was Sky and Tony making the end of the roster there.
Okay.
Is how it was looking, but it still depends on their camp performances in preseason. I don't think either of them are completely safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good.
And KT being injured, that doesn't really right now. It doesn't help his case right now. Hopefully he's all right. Hi everybody, thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.